Imagine being like a 24-year-old college dropout.
Right.
And suddenly, you are worth more than the GDP of an entire small island nation.
Yeah.
And not because you built some catchy social media app or, invented a new consumer gadget.
Yeah, those days are kind of over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You achieved this literally astronomical wealth because you figured out how to, mechanically teach a computer what human sarcasm looks like.
It's wild.
It is. So today, just to be clear, we aren't really talking about chatbots. We are tracking a $3 trillion shockwave.
And the velocity of that shockwave is just completely unprecedented. I mean, we are witnessing a fundamental structural realignment of where global money lives.
Yeah.
And it's moving faster than literally any wealth creation event in human history.
Well, welcome to the deep dive. I want to say right up front to you listening, whether you're prepping for a boardroom meeting, analyzing market trends, or you're just insanely curious about where the physical world is actually heading, we're doing something very specific today.
Right. We have a very clear goal.
We do.
Yeah.
And we're looking at this massive stack of sources to do it. We've got the Forbes 2026 billionaires list. We have these incredibly detailed luxury real estate reports from Coldwell Banker.
Which are fascinating, by the way.
Oh, totally eye-opening. And then we've got medical AI trends from the Global Wellness Institute, plus global wealth migration studies from Altrada.
It's a remarkably diverse stack of data, but, it all points to one central phenomenon.
Exactly. So our mission today is very clear. We are not here to debate which AI model is smarter.
Right. No benchmark tests today.
No, definitely not doing like GPT versus Claude. We are here to map out the entirely new physical and economic world that artificial intelligence has just created.
Because that's the real story.
It is. So over the next hour or so, we're going to unpack this unprecedented wealth explosion, figure out where all this new money is physically flowing globally.
The geography of it is wild.
Right. And we'll look at how it's physically rewriting the maps of our cities. And finally, we'll explore how the AI elite are trying to buy the ultimate luxury, which is, time itself.
Yeah, to understand the architecture of this new world, you first really have to grasp the sheer volume of capital that just flooded the foundation.
Give us a sense of that scale.
Well, the scale genuinely defies normal economic modeling.
Break down the Forbes 2026 data for us.
Yeah, so 45 people became billionaires from AI in a single 12-month period.
Wait, 45 new billionaires in 1 year?
One single year. Not a decade. 1 year. And there are now 114 billionaires total whose fortunes are explicitly, directly linked to artificial intelligence.
That's insane.
And their combined wealth sits north of $2.9 trillion.
Trillion, with a T.
Right. If they pooled that money and just started their own country, they would literally be the 5th largest economy on Earth.
It's just hard to even wrap your head around that number. And it's not just personal wealth, right? The private markets are just losing their minds over this.
Oh, absolutely. The private markets are reflecting that exact same frenzy. The first quarter of 2026 basically shattered every venture capital record in existence.
How much are we talking?
$300 billion invested globally in just 3 months.
Okay, but what's crazy to me, looking at the sources, is where that money is actually going. Because it's not spread out.
No, not at all. That is critical to note, the concentration of that capital. 63% of that $300 billion went into just 4 mega rounds.
Just 4 companies.
Yeah. OpenAI, Anthropic, xAI, and Waymo.
It's like someone took a fire hose of money and just pointed it at a very, very small number of people.
That's exactly what it is.
But, digging into these sources becomes really clear that this isn't just some random pile of cash. It actually has this very rigid structure to it, like an economic stack.
Right, the AI stack.
Yeah, and I think to understand why this wealth is durable, why this isn't just the dot-com bubble of the late 90s all over again, or the crypto craze from a few years ago, we really have to look at the 4 layers of this AI economy.
Because it's built on a very physical reality.
Right. At the very bottom sits the hardware layer, the landlords, essentially.
Yeah. Artificial intelligence requires immense physical infrastructure. People think of it as just software in the cloud, but it requires actual silicon, specialized cooling systems, massive, massive data centers, and the power grids to run them.
And the undisputed king of this layer is Jensen Huang at NVIDIA.
Absolutely. And his story is just...
It's wild. I was reading this, and he goes from being a 9-year-old immigrant from Taiwan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sent to Kentucky, washing dishes at a Denny's for, what was it, $2.65 an hour?
Yeah, something like that.
And now he's sitting on a personal fortune of $172 billion. I mean, the guy walks around in these $9,000 Tom Ford leather jackets and runs a company that just crossed a $5 trillion market cap.
The leather jacket is iconic at this point.
It really is. But the reason his wealth is so deeply entrenched, from what the experts are saying, is because of the hardware bottleneck.
Right. So the mechanics of AI training require what's called parallel processing.
Break that down for someone who might not know.
Yeah. Sure. So it's the ability to compute millions of calculations simultaneously all at once, rather than sequentially one after another.
Okay.
NVIDIA's graphics processing units, or GPUs, they were originally designed for rendering video games, like making graphics look pretty.
Right, for gamers.
Exactly. But it turned out that parallel processing was the exact architecture needed to train neural networks. So Huang essentially holds a total monopoly on the physical picks and shovels of the AI gold rush.
So basically, every software company building one of these massive foundational models has to pay his company billions in capital expenditures just to even play the game.
It's just for the right to participate, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so if Huang basically owns the hardware, there has to be a battleground for the software running on top of it.
Yeah.
And looking at these sources, the intelligence layer, the people who are actually building the models, it doesn't even look like a normal corporate rivalry.
No,
It's playing out almost like a religious war.
that is a great way to put it. The philosophical divergence at the intelligence layer is truly fascinating, and we are looking at massive valuations here. I mean, Anthropic actually just overtook OpenAI in their private valuation.
Wait, really? Anthropic is worth more now?
In the private markets, yeah. They hit $965 billion in their Series H round.
Series H, that's a lot of rounds.
It is. And for context, a Series H is a very late-stage private funding round, which typically indicates a company is just, steps away from going public. So that $965 billion pushes them past OpenAI's $852 billion.
And what's so crazy about that rivalry is the origin of it. It stems entirely from internal conflict.
Right, the OpenAI schism.
Exactly. So Dario Amodei, he used to be the VP of research at OpenAI, but he and his sister Daniela, they basically left because they had these profound safety concerns about what they were building.
They were terrified of the acceleration.
Right. Amodei actually wrote this 15,000-word essay called Machines of Loving Grace. And in it, he argues that AI could literally cure cancer and, reverse climate change. But he felt he absolutely had to build a quote-unquote responsible competitor with really strict safety rails.
Yeah, the structure of Anthropic reflects that entirely. He structured it as a public benefit corporation.
Meaning what legally?
Meaning they are legally allowed and actually required to prioritize those safety goals and societal benefit over pure profit for shareholders.
Which is wild because now, despite prioritizing safety over profit, he and his co-founders are worth $3.7 billion each.
That's ironic, isn't it?
Totally. A pivot that was literally built on the sheer fear of an unaligned superintelligence just going rogue made them multi-billionaires.
Well, the corporate structures at this level are highly unusual across the board. I mean, take OpenAI structure under Sam Altman.
Oh, this part is fascinating.
Yeah, so OpenAI began as a 501c3 nonprofit, totally charitable. But to raise the billions of dollars they needed to go buy NVIDIA's compute, because remember, Jensen Huang needs his cut, they created this capped profit subsidiary.
Okay, so investors can put money in, but there's a limit.
Exactly. Investors are capped at a specific multiple of their investment, say 100x, and anything earned beyond that cap theoretically flows right back into the nonprofit to, benefit humanity.
Which leads to, honestly, the most bizarre financial profile in the entire tech sector.
Sam Altman.
Yes. Sam Altman is running arguably the most consequential tech company of the entire decade. And his salary is, wait for it, $76,001.
It's absurd on paper.
It is. And he doesn't own a single share of OpenAI equity, not one. He built this absolute cathedral, gave away the keys to it, and yet the billions he actually does have, which they estimate is around $2 to $3 billion, came entirely from his old venture capital investments.
Right, early bets on places like Stripe and Reddit. But, the psychological profile required to operate at that kind of scale without traditional equity incentives, it's extremely rare. These founders, they're operating on a scale of ambition that completely transcends standard financial mechanics.
They don't care about the stock options.
No, they view themselves as stewards of a new epoch in human history.
Which perfectly brings us to Elon Musk, who is just the ultimate contradiction of this entire era.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, he literally signs open letters warning the world that AI is this existential threat to humanity.
Right.
And what is his immediate response? to that deep existential fear,
To build his own.
to merge his AI company, XAI, with SpaceX and target an unprecedented $1.75 trillion IPO.
It's staggering.
He's using the exact technology he just warned us about to try and become the world's first trillionaire.
It is fear and acceleration operating simultaneously in the same person.
Mhm.
But, beneath all these grand philosophical debates of the intelligence layer, beneath the Altmans and the Musks, sits the actual engine of the entire system,
Right.
the data layer.
Yeah, so think of the intelligence layer, like the famous architects designing this massive futuristic skyscraper.
Right.
The data layer, these are companies like Scale AI and Surge AI. They're the people hand-inspecting every single brick.
Because if one brick is flawed,
The whole skyscraper collapses.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this is where the actual wealth is being minted for the youngest players in the space.
yeah, because before a model can actually reason or generate accurate text without lying to you, it has to undergo what's called reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF.
Which is such a technical term, but it's just human grading, basically.
Essentially, yeah. And it's not just, paying people pennies to point out a stop sign in a blurry photo anymore.
Right, the CAPTCHA days are over.
Exactly. These models are so advanced now that they require actual subject matter experts. They need real doctors, licensed lawyers, advanced software coders, all to evaluate and rank the AI's outputs to prevent hallucinations.
So the companies that manage all that human labor are sitting on a gold mine.
Right. They organize this highly specialized labor, which means they are holding the most valuable raw material in the entire supply chain.
And that completely explains Edwin Chen. He's the CEO of Surge AI, and he's the richest new entrant on the Forbes list this year. $18 billion.
And completely under the radar.
Totally invisible. There are no celebrity dating rumors, no massive real estate headlines, just a quiet, unbothered $18 billion. And his quote in the Forbes piece just lays out the mechanics of this perfectly. He says, quote, "Without us, AGI simply won't happen," end quote.
He knows he holds the monopoly on the bricks.
Exactly. And then you have Alexander Wang, who dropped out of MIT to co-found Scale AI.
Yeah.
Became the world's youngest self-made billionaire at, what, 24?
24, yeah.
Mm.
Which leads us to the fourth layer, which is the capital layer. This is where traditional finance is desperately trying to capture some of this value.
Because they missed the boat initially.
A lot of them did. But Masayoshi Son of SoftBank is a prime example of a massive comeback here. I mean, he lost $70 billion on legacy tech bets like WeWork back in the late 2010s.
Ouch.
Yeah, brutal losses. But by completely pivoting his entire global investment strategy exclusively into AI infrastructure, he leveraged those hardware and data layers we just talked about to climb back to a net worth above $23 billion.
Okay, wait, let me just pause here and apply some basic economic gravity to this situation.
Yeah.
Because if $3 trillion just suddenly appeared out of nowhere for all these AI founders and investors, did the global economic pie just magically expand? Because sitting here looking at these staggering numbers, it inherently feels like a zero-sum game.
It absolutely is.
Right, like that money had to come from somewhere.
And it did. The Huron Global Rich List report actually tracks this wealth destruction explicitly.
Yeah.
And the data is brutal. Every single dollar of new AI wealth corresponds dynamically to a dollar of disruption or destruction in the legacy tech economy.
So who's losing out?
Well, Michael Bloomberg saw his wealth drop 13%.
Wow.
The founders of Atlassian lost half their wealth. The founders of Salesforce and Workday are down a third.
Because the entire mechanics of software are changing. I mean, if I am a mid-sized company today, why on earth would I pay millions of dollars every single year for hundreds of user licenses on some massive legacy software suite? The old software as a service or SaaS model.
You wouldn't. Not anymore.
No, not when I can just deploy a few autonomous AI agents to write the code, manage the CRM, or handle all the administrative work for a fraction of the cost.
Exactly. AI is outright destroying the recurring revenue models of those 2010s tech giants.
So it's not a rising tide lifting all boats.
Not at all. It is an aggressive, basically non-consensual transfer of value from the old guard of software directly to the new guard of artificial intelligence.
Man, that is ruthless. But before we move on to where all this wealth is physically traveling to, I have to highlight my favorite person in all of these sources.
Oh, I know who you're going to say.
The anti-billionaire, Lucy Guo.
Yes. Her story is incredible.
It's so good. So she co-founded Scale AI with Alexander Wang when she was only 20. And then she left the company in 2018, but she kept a 5% stake.
Just a passive stake.
Right. And then, when Meta decided to buy heavily into scale AI, that passive 5% stake suddenly made her worth $1.3 billion,
Yeah.
making her the youngest self-made woman billionaire on Earth.
And her lifestyle is just...
She shops at Shane. She takes UberX. Her assistant drives her around in this beat-up old Honda Civic. And the craziest part is she got richer by literally leaving the company than she probably would have if she had stayed and run it.
It's funny, but her trajectory actually highlights a really fundamental truth about this specific economic moment.
What's that?
That proximity to the foundation of the AI stack and sheer timing are infinitely more valuable now than continuous traditional labor.
Timing is everything.
It really is. But, securing billions in paper wealth or sitting on these massive private valuations, it reveals a completely new problem for these billionaires.
What do you do with it?
Exactly. A $3 trillion liquidity event doesn't just sit statically in a checking account. It has physical gravity. It moves.
And where this capital flows actively dictates the new global power centers. I mean, if you're listening to this in a Tier 2 city right now, you might be thinking, well, the movements of some AI billionaires don't affect my life or my rent. But the Altrata 2025 report proves that is completely wrong.
Completely wrong.
The Great Migration is actively redrawing the map of global wealth right now.
Yeah, historically, the destinations for ultra-high net worth individuals, they were highly predictable. You had the quote-unquote legacy markets.
New York, London.
Right. New York City, Aspen, Miami, London, Hong Kong. And these cities held their appeal for decades through multiple economic cycles because they represented concentrated cultural capital and traditional prestige.
But the Altrata report shows those legacy markets are actually bleeding capital right now. The AI elite are pivoting entirely to these new wealth havens.
Yes, places like Dubai, Lisbon, and Naples, Florida.
So why this sudden shift? Because I feel like it can't just be about dodging taxes. Rich people have had offshore accounts and tax loopholes forever.
That's true, but capital mobility itself has basically become the ultimate hedge.
A hedge against what?
Against geopolitical and economic uncertainty. You see, this new class of wealth isn't just looking to buy a house with a scenic ocean view. They are deliberately engineering multi-jurisdictional living.
Multi-jurisdictional living. So basically, not being tied down to one country's rules.
Exactly. They actively utilize frameworks like the US EB-5 program.
Remind me how that works.
So it allows foreign investors to secure U.S. green cards by basically investing substantial capital, typically upwards of $800,000, into U.S. enterprises that create jobs.
Okay, so they buy their way into U.S. residency.
Basically. But conversely, you have American tech founders leveraging programs like Portugal's Golden Visas, so they can secure European Union residency just through a real estate investment.
So they have passports all over the globe.
Right. The goal is to ensure they are never, ever entirely dependent on any one nation's tax code or regulatory environment or political climate.
But the data also points to this other layer of decision-making that feels entirely unique to this specific generation of wealth. It's what the analysts in the report are calling climate selectivity.
This is where it gets really interesting. Because this new tech elite, they are highly, highly analytical. They are utilizing the very predictive AI models they built to factor long-term climate projections into their physical real estate portfolios.
So they're asking their own AI where to live.
Basically, yeah. And because of that, oceanfront property, which has traditionally been the absolute pinnacle of luxury, is increasingly being viewed as a depreciating liability.
Because of rising sea levels and extreme weather.
Exactly. The volatility just too high for them.
That is such a staggering shift in mindset.
Yeah.
Like, if your AI model shows severe coastal disruption over the next 20 years, you don't buy the Malibu beach house. You buy the mountain compound.
You buy elevation, yeah. The data shows a massive, marked migration toward elevated or freshwater settings. They are prioritizing deep environmental resilience.
So what are the actual requirements now?
They want guaranteed clean air, absolute municipal water security, and sustainable self-sufficient infrastructure.
Which makes sense. But this migration, it goes way beyond just personal homes, right? Like,
right.
It's actually shifting entire industrial ecosystems globally.
Oh, without a doubt. The industries follow the talent.
Miami seems like a perfect example of this. I mean, they just cracked the top 20 global tech ecosystems precisely because they aggressively courted these exact tech
Mhm.
relocations. They offered really favorable local regulations for climate tech and AI startups.
And the physical infrastructure is following the talent to Europe, too. Look at the N-scale data in the
Oh,
sources.
right. They just raised, what, $2 billion?
$2 billion specifically to build sovereign AI data centers across the European continent.
Sovereign data centers. So basically keeping the data within European borders.
Exactly. The decentralization of the physical internet is critical right now. The hardware, these massive, sprawling server farms, and the engineering talent are actively spreading out globally. They want to avoid bottlenecking everything in Silicon Valley.
They're chasing cheaper power, right?
Cheaper, more abundant power sources, and much more favorable sovereign regulations.
Okay, so we have this massive macroeconomic flow of trillions of dollars shifting across entire continents. But let's zoom in a bit. What actually happens to a specific city's infrastructure, or even just a specific neighborhood, when the AI elite decides to put down roots there? Let's talk about the San Francisco squeeze.
Yeah, the hyperlocal impact. This is where the sheer abstraction of billions of dollars becomes a very harsh, very tangible reality for the local residents and the legacy businesses.
The numbers hitting San Francisco right now are just gargantuan. I mean, just from tender offers alone, the local housing market is completely warping.
And we should probably clarify what a tender offer is for a second.
Yeah, please do.
So a tender offer is when private companies that haven't IPO'd yet, allow their employees to sell their vested shares directly to institutional investors for cold hard cash.
So they get rich before the company's even public.
Right. And recently, 600 OpenAI employees utilized a tender offer to basically pocket $6.6 billion collective earnings.
6.6 billion.
Yeah. And 75 of those people walked away with $30 million each. Just pure liquid cash hitting the local San Francisco economy overnight.
Which is just the appetizer, right?
Yeah.
Because that liquidity is just the precursor to the actual initial public offerings that are coming.
Exactly.
Let's look at the historical scale of this. Uber was basically the biggest tech liquidity event to hit San Francisco in the last decade. Back in 2019, Uber IPO'd at an $82.4 billion valuation, which was huge at the time.
Massive.
But the combined private valuations of OpenAI and Anthropic right now sit at over $1.8 trillion.
It's an entirely different order of magnitude.
It's not even close. But the weird and honestly almost tragic quirk of this specific wealth explosion is that the city coffers of San Francisco won't actually capture the windfall.
Right. And this is due to a very specific California state law. Municipalities there are actually prohibited from imposing their own local income taxes.
So wait, the city gets nothing directly from income.
Right. So while literally billions of dollars are being minted right inside the city limits, San Francisco cannot simply take a direct tax cut of those massive employee windfalls to go fund municipal infrastructure or fix public transit or build affordable housing.
Which creates a frankly terrifying economic dynamic.
Yeah.
I mean, the Guardian piece we looked at cited this nuclear winter warning from local economists.
Yeah, it's a paradox.
Right, because if the AI bubble bursts, it will completely devastate the venture capital ecosystem that sustains the entire city. But if the bubble holds, and this is real, the city just gets hit with a tsunami of cash that completely distorts the housing market, but they don't generate the municipal tax revenue needed to actually manage the fallout.
It's what the real estate agents in these reports refer to as the tale of two tech industries, because the actual geography of this AI boom is fundamentally different from the last tech boom.
How so?
Well, in the 2010s, the major tech IPOs, Facebook, Google, Apple, they were all based down south in the Silicon Valley, down the peninsula. So the employees commuted down from San Francisco every day.
The famous tech bus.
Exactly. But OpenAI and Anthropic are headquartered right in the heart of downtown San Francisco.
Ah, so they don't want to commute.
Not at all. These engineers and founders, they want to live immediately adjacent to their headquarters. And this intense geographic concentration has triggered an absolute panic among buyers in the city.
So those 75 people who just got $30 million in cash.
Right. Those with cash from early tender offers are rushing out to buy properties in the $5 million plus range right now, well before the massive IPOs actually hit. They are terrified of being priced out once that $1.8 trillion becomes fully liquid.
Which just creates this severe upward pressure on everything. Like a $30 million cash buyer just outbids a $5 million buyer. So then that $5 million buyer gets pushed down into the $2 million market, and it just cascades all the way down, eventually pushing low-income renters entirely out of the city limits.
It's a domino effect of displacement.
And this isn't even isolated to the West Coast. If we look at the East Coast establishment, look at the Hamptons, the report from Social Life magazine paints this incredibly vivid picture of the South Fork and further lane.
It's fascinating what's happening there.
The quote is amazing. They wrote, quote, "The hedges are the same height, the ocean is the same distance, but the source of the wire transfer has changed."
It is a textbook example of elite substitution.
Literally. The old finance establishment, the hedge fund managers, the private equity titans who basically ruled Wall Street for decades, they are actively being outbid and replaced by AI founders in their 30s.
Just pushed right out of their own playgrounds.
There is this specific event mentioned in the sources, the Polo Hamptons crossover event. It's held on Lumber Lane in Bridgehampton.
Right, the polo match.
Yeah, and it is the exact physical location where the old Wall Street money physically meets the new AI tech class. They're literally facing each other across a polo field, representing two entirely different eras of wealth creation.
It's very cinematic. But when this new tech class actually acquires these multi-million-dollar properties, their specific demands are fundamentally rewriting the very definition of luxury in the real estate market.
Yeah, the Coldwell Banker Trend Report went deep on this. A high price tag is just no longer the sole metric of a luxury property for these buyers.
Not at all. The new metrics are space, absolute privacy, and above all else, flexibility. These buyers are demanding entirely turnkey properties.
Meaning they don't want to fix a single thing.
Right. The sources note they are actually willing to pay up to a 30% market premium just to avoid having to do renovations.
A 30% premium just so they don't have to hire a contractor.
Yes. Because the calculus is based on the extreme time cost of their capital. Their time is simply far too valuable to spend, 6 months arguing with the local contractor about kitchen tile supply chains.
I'm building AGI. I don't care about the marble countertop.
Exactly. They require immediate, frictionless utility from their physical assets. They just want to turn the key and live.
They also demand deeply integrated smart home technology, right? And we're not talking about just asking a smart speaker to play some music.
No, much more advanced.
We're talking about HVAC systems that use predictive AI to adjust to their individual body temperatures as they walk through the house. Multi-generational living spaces like entirely detached guest houses for extended family because they're moving everyone with them. And dedicated, highly advanced wellness rooms.
And honestly, the integration of those wellness rooms provides the absolute perfect logical bridge to the final frontier of this entire economy.
Yes. Let's follow that thread. So we've traced the money from the raw silicon servers across the ocean to these European tax havens and into these 30% premium turnkey mansions in San Francisco.
Right.
So imagine you're an AI billionaire right now. You've totally optimized your global tax strategy. You've secured this massive climate-resilient compound in the mountains, and you literally never have to worry about capital generation ever again.
You've won the game, essentially.
You've won capitalism.
Yeah.
So what is the absolute final frontier for someone who has infinite resources?
You optimize the one thing money historically couldn't fix.
The human body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Global Wellness Institute report projects that wellness tourism is going to be a $1.3 trillion market by 2025.
Trillion. Again.
Trillion, yeah. But we really have to completely discard our old, antiquated notions of what a quote-unquote wellness retreat entails. This is no longer about generic spa days or mud baths or, a relax in a Swedish massage.
No, it's the complete and frankly terrifyingly precise merger of artificial intelligence and DNA sequencing.
Right. Luxury wellness is now entirely about ultra-personalized biological blueprints.
It's crazy. When these individuals travel to these high-end centers, the facilities aren't just like taking their blood pressure when they walk in. They are analyzing deep genetic markers, real-time nutrient absorption rates, and precise cellular food sensitivities.
The sources provided some fascinating concrete examples of this in practice, like look at the SHA Wellness Clinic in Spain or Amanpuri over in Thailand.
Right. So when a guest arrives at Amanpuri, they don't get a menu of generic spa options handed to them in the lobby.
No, they undergo a full biometric and genetic assessment right upon arrival.
And then the clinic's AI processes that data and generates a totally custom minute-by-minute biological itinerary for their entire stay. Like your meals are biologically engineered for your specific DNA profile.
It's hyper-personalized.
It is. If the AI detects, say, a genetic sensitivity to a specific protein or a mild inflammatory response to gluten that you didn't even consciously know you had,
Hmm.
the executive chef already has that data,
Yeah.
and your entire menu is seamlessly adjusted before you even sit down at the restaurant.
It is essentially preventative maintenance for the human machine. And it's engineered by the exact same algorithms that these guests actually helped create back in Silicon Valley.
Which is such a wild full circle moment.
It is. And crucially, this optimization doesn't just stop when their vacation ends and they leave the resort.
No, because then they use the AI digital concierge. It extends the luxury into their everyday minute-to-minute life back home.
Right. These digital systems, they monitor and adapt to the user's sleep patterns, their cortisol levels, and stress indicators in real time. Like the Four Seasons Westlake Village offers this sleep solution experience.
Where they literally study your brain, right?
Yeah, guests undergo clinical polysomnography tests. These are comprehensive sleep studies that record brain waves, blood oxygen levels, heart rate, everything.
And then what do they do with that?
Resident sleep experts then use AI to continuously optimize the guest's resting environment at home. So the AI is actively adjusting ambient temperature, light levels, and even sound frequencies in the bedroom to maximize deep sleep cycles.
Even their consumer habits are algorithmically optimized. Like LVMH's 24/7 uses an AI-driven personal stylist that doesn't just, suggest clothes, but actually predicts exactly what luxury goods will fit your specific evolving tastes based on thousands of data points.
Yeah, AI knows what you want to wear before you do.
Exactly. But I want to go back to the biological optimization for a second, because the analogy that keeps hitting me when I read this is just so clear.
What is it?
It's like these founders realize their software is advancing at this exponential, almost godlike rate, right?
Mhm.
And they are desperately trying to upgrade their own biological hardware so they don't become obsolete before the software finishes compiling.
Oh, that is a fantastic analogy. And the mechanics of that analogy map perfectly onto the data we're seeing. And it really leads us to the logical, extreme conclusion of this entire movement.
Which even the banks are seeing.
Yes, traditional banks are recognizing it. Standard Chartered calls it holistic wealth management, which now heavily incorporates comprehensive longevity planning.
Longevity planning, which
Yeah.
is just a polite way of saying the literal quest for immortality.
Exactly. Life extension is no longer relegated to science fiction movies. It is a highly capitalized, very real sector of the AI economy today.
I mean, let's look at Sam Altman again, the guy we talked about earlier running OpenAI with the $76,000 salary.
Yeah,
He personally invested $180 million into a company called Retro Biosciences.
right.
And their explicitly stated goal is to extend human lifespans by 10 healthy years. And the mechanics of how they are trying to achieve this are just staggering.
It sounds like science fiction.
It really does. One of the methods they're actively studying right now is rejuvenating human blood based on these laboratory studies of old mice, where the old mice actually showed reversed signs of aging when they were given the blood plasma of young mice.
Right, parabiosis. They view biological aging not as some inevitability of nature or just a part of life, but merely as a complex engineering problem.
A bug in the code.
Exactly. A disease that can be isolated, modeled, and eventually solved if you just throw enough data, enough computing power, and enough capital at it.
So, man, what does this all mean for the rest of us? Let's take a step back and just look at the massive map we've drawn today.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. We started with the sheer raw creation of nearly $3 trillion in AI wealth, right?
Mhm.
Moving at a speed that is actively wiping out the legacy tech fortunes of the 2010s.
Faster than anything we've ever seen.
Then we watched that capital totally redraw the global map, flowing into these climate-resilient, tax-optimized havens like Dubai and Lisbon. We saw it physically transform the streets of San Francisco and the hedges of the Hamptons, driving up prices, displacing the old guard, and basically changing the very definition of what a luxury home even is.
The 30% premium just to not deal with a contractor.
Right. And finally, we follow that money to its ultimate, perhaps inevitable destination. The genetic personalization of the human body and the literal, heavily funded pursuit of extra years of life.
The scope of this shift is just profound. We're not just analyzing the rollout of some cool new software tool. We are actively tracking the emergence of a new ruling class, a class that is utilizing advanced technology to separate themselves geographically, economically, and fundamentally biologically.
Which brings me to one final thought for you listening to Chew On today. We spend so much time in the media, in boardrooms and at dinner tables, worrying about whether artificial intelligence is going to take our jobs or automate our specific daily tasks.
It's the most common fear.
But looking at where these trillions of dollars are actually flowing, maybe the real question we should be asking is entirely different. If the ultimate luxury this technology creates is the ability to genetically optimize your health, to physically reverse your aging process, and to literally outlive everyone else, does biological immortality become the ultimate class divide?
It's a chilling thought.
Think about that the next time you ask a chatbot to write a simple email.
The technology designed to elevate humanity might ultimately fracture it in ways we are only just beginning to measure.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the world around you, keep looking past the screen, and we'll see you next time.